And she said yes and stepped right up to the plate. And thank you very, very much for no notice and your willingness.
Oh my God. Can you have the timer? Thank you. Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Mercedes. I'm an alcoholic. I have a home group, which is Empire Way. My sobriety date is March 5th, 2004. My sponsor is Virginia J., who is sponsored by Barbara G. So it's so nice to hear Cassie, whom I didn't know, but that I know that we are related in that family, sober family kind of way. Anyway, yes, 2.5 hours ago, I was dressed as a flapper. And Steve says, "Did you talk to Diane?" Which Diane? Because there's some Diane D. Okay. Um, she's been trying to get a hold of you. Would you be able to do this? And I'm like, okay. And then I started praying. I said, God, please tell me what to do because what to say because I go into a blank, into a fear, I guess, in a way. A sponsor a while ago said to me one time, it's about jumping from point A. There is no point B. You jump from point A. And that's the thing when we come to Alcoholics Anonymous. We kind of jump from point A. We don't even know what we're getting into. I didn't even know what I was getting into when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. I was not even a big drunk or anything like that, but alcoholism was taking a hold of me. And that power that exists in spirit, power greater than ourselves, good order redirection, however you want to call it, plucked me from wherever my misery was and brought me to a big book study. That was in 2000, so the 2000 must have been 2003 because I got sober in 2000. No, that was 2004. Right, exactly. Um, I'm nuts. Anyway, and I started identifying. I can tell you, from my accent, you probably can detect that I wasn't born here. I wasn't. I was born and raised in Argentina, a long ways away. I'm a Southern girl, as they say, Southern Hemisphere, that is. and and I lived there. I was not restless, irritable, and discontented as a child, but I was like a seeker. I wanted something, I didn't know what it was. I was at the same time very insecure and very full of myself. I'm the firstborn, so you can imagine I was impossible. And and so I was just trying to find it. And I didn't get to alcohol. I did get to marijuana for a little bit, but it didn't do well with me, and I quit. I just didn't care. And then I got into the guru. So that was my drug, the guru, the feet of the guru. Oh my God, I'm in heaven. No. It took a while to get from there to where I am now. But in the end, what happened was that I left my home for the guru. I left my country, came to the United States. I stayed here, overstayed my visa, so I became an illegal alien for a while. And I was in that turmoil. I got married, I got pregnant, lost the pregnancy, got divorced, all that. Alcohol was in the periphery, but it wasn't that much a part of my life until in my mid 40s. So it takes a while sometimes. That's my story, I'm sticking to it. And by the time it started to be an important thing in my life, I was obsessed with a guy. I was stalking him, and I was drinking thinking about him. So that drink began to fuel insane behavior in me. And gradually it got worse. I did not notice that it was a drink. I thought, it's the guy. So I ended up in another fellowship, and we were reading the big book, But I was like, yeah, whatever, cross alcohol use, love addiction, not alcohol. But in the meantime, it kept being a companion. I guess that's how I would describe it, like a friend. Like I could just take shelter in this friend. And then I was dating this guy and different guy, and I had the mojito. That was a drink because I had had wine. I grew up drinking wine and lemonade. That's how you grow up in Argentina. It's very Italian. We have wine everywhere, but it wasn't a big deal. But then when I had that mojito here in Seattle, Washington, on a dreary day, it was like it just felt so good. It just felt so good. And I knew in that moment, as I took that drink, I knew I went through some kind of threshold. Sometimes it is described as turning from a cucumber into a pickle. So I went through this threshold, and it was kind of like, oh my God, I am not going to be able to go back. And from then on, I was miserable. I was miserable because I had some knowledge from the big book because I had been reading it in another context. And I fought this idea of alcohol being a problem for me. I fought it tooth and nail. I was like, no, I am not an alcoholic and I'm going to show it. I was impossible. I don't know how I managed to make a living. I don't know how. I mean, I lived alone, thank God, because if I had lived with someone else, they would have kicked me out. I mean, who would have stood by me in that insanity, in that irrational behavior, all fueled by this spirits, by this alcohol. And I just couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with it. And then one day I eventually said, okay, enough. And just coincidentally, a friend of mine said, let's go to this big book study, Mercedes. It's not an AA meeting, it's a big book study. So you don't have to identify. And that was my what saved me, because I came to this big book study, but that's what we do in a big book study. We read the big book. We read the big book. And the big book is a powerful thing. I think it was totally inspired by greater forces than we can see. And as I am reading this book, I'm like, oh, 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 oh my God. It was not a pleasant moment to realize that I was an alcoholic, because for the longest time I was like, I'm not like you. Well, yeah, there are many differences in my story, but I am exactly like you. I'm insane like you. I will reach out for alcohol if I could, like you. My next drink is around the corner, like it is for you. I mean, we are here by the grace of God and nobody else. Whether we drank ourselves to peeing in our beds, or like me, not to get to that point. The elevator stopped at a different floor for me and I got off, or I was pulled out. Yeah, I don't think that I, by my own volition, got out of that elevator, but I was pulled out by the grace of that power that is so prevalent in my life. Now, today, I can tell you, I have had many sponsors. I'm difficult, and but I have stayed in Alcoholics Anonymous. I was at the verge of drinking one time years ago. I was so upset, so angry at this person. And my first reaction was not pick up the phone. Well, uh, pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm having a bad day. No, it was like, let me have a drink. I want to drink. And I was surprised by my reaction still. And then after that I tried to reach people. I couldn't reach anyone. No one was available because maybe they were working, whatever, busy in life. So I was so petrified that if I moved an inch, a finger, a nail, I would go out the door and get alcohol because it was just there calling me like the sirens for Ulysses, beckoning. I will quell your anger. I will be your solution. But thank God I started praying. I just laid on my couch, afraid to do anything. And I prayed, and I prayed all the prayers of AA, all the prayers of my childhood that I could remember, until that insane thought was removed from me. And that tells me that I belong here again because I am beyond human aid. Human aid will not help me in this moment. I really need to reach to that power. And sometimes it comes with skin on, but I need to reach first for that power. Another thing I forgot to tell you that was when I first started going to that big book study, a friend in the program said, do you have any alcohol at home, Mercedes? I was, yes, I do. Well, it would be a good idea to pour it out down the sink. And I said, sure, no problem. I can do that. Yes, of course, no problem. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to come. That's what we do. We do for each other what we need that help. I mean, I may not know that I do need it, but we do need it. And she said, no, I'm just going to come and help you. So she stood by me as I took the bottles and poured them down the sink, the drain, and started shaking and crying. Hello? I mean, who has that reaction? It's like my dear friend. My dear friend was going down the drain and there was nothing I could do about it. But had I been alone, that's why we don't recover in a vacuum. We don't recover in a vacuum. We do need each other. We walk shoulder to shoulder because I would have been drinking it instead of pouring it down the drain. No, it was another powerful demonstration that I am powerless over this substance and that my life becomes completely unmanageable by me. To this day, I don't have the power to manage my own life. Um, anyway, so today, how is my life today? Today, I am blessed with sponsees. I am blessed with sponsees that call me, that are interested in the program, that want to work the steps, that want to get better, that want to continue the ripple effect of Alcoholics Anonymous. I want to continue carrying the message forward. Because, one, a great grand, I don't know what to call her. Anyway, she's in the main person in our sober line. And she always says, we are saved to save. We're not saved from the gutter, from the insanity, from wherever we're saved from, just to go sit in a spa and go on vacation. We can do all those things. But the main reason why we get to be sober, the main reason that I realize that I am being here sober, alive, kind of sane, is so that we can help somebody else, so for the hand of AA to be there, to be available. And it could be uncomfortable at times, or it wouldn't be the perfect whatever, we have to, it entails a level of sacrifice. Because as an alcoholic, I am lazy. I am, I don't want to inconvenience myself. But if I want to live, if I want to thrive, if I want to be happy, joyous, and free, I have to go through a level of uncomfortableness, of my Spanish is getting in the middle of my brain. We have to sacrifice a little bit and be willing to. And when I do, it's no longer a sacrifice. It really becomes a privilege to be here. You know, that I can have a different life and that I can bring somebody else along, that will bring somebody else along, that will bring somebody else along, you know, and that we create this movement of Alcoholics Anonymous. We don't go and, you know, put it on billboards, and we don't promote ourselves, but we are examples, we are demonstrations of the power, the incredible power Alcoholics Anonymous has, you know, in our lives if we open ourselves. And it brings to mind the third step. The third step talks about well, after realizing that I'm crazy, I'm powerless, my life is unmanageable, I need help because I can't do it by myself. The third step tells me if I am willing to have that door slightly open, I don't have to have an amazing experience. You know, all I have to have is the door, just a crack for the light and clarity of Alcoholics Anonymous, if you don't want to call God, you know, or spirit or whatever you want to call it, for that light and power to come through. And it's so powerful that will illuminate, that will help. All I need is that willingness to have that door a little open, and then miracles can happen. And it means many things. The miracle for me is that I get to be sober and I get to overcome the insane obsession with self that I have. Because as alcoholics, we selfish, self-centered, right? The book talks about selfish and self-centered. I am completely, oh my God, obsessed with myself. I go down rabbit holes with myself. And thank God I called my sponsor and I go, hey, you know, I am 20 years sober and I still go, oh my God, nobody loves me, nobody cares, blah, blah, blah. You know, I don't belong anywhere. You know, does that happen to you? Probably, you know, probably, right? That's part of our disease. I am not unique in that sense. And I need to be reminded of the fact that I am not unique, you know, that I am one of the many, that I am just, I come down from my throne. You know, I do think I have some kind of throne I like to sit on, you know, and I need to come down. I heard, who was it? I don't know if it was Father Tom W. who used to say, you know, or was it Ralph? I don't remember who. Anyway, that up on the top of a mountain, it's beautiful, the view is incredible, but you're by yourself and there is no room for anyone else but yourself. But if you come down to the sides and down to the valleys where everybody else lives, that's where we have community. That's where I can be a part of and not be isolated in some kind of bubble, you know, that will create pain and suffering for me and continues to do so. So I have to continue to walk this path. It's not an option. You know, I've come to realize that it's life or death. Life or death. There is, I believe or I don't believe. There is a God or there is no God, is or God isn't. Whatever that word entails, that power is or isn't. What is my choice? What is my choice? You know, my choice is today that that power is. And I confront myself because I go into that agnostic thinking like, well, I don't know if there is a power. I don't know. I've had many demonstrations, but I go into that hallway that great grand sponsor talks about. You go into that dark hallway where you can't see. But she says, when you're in that hallway, look for others and help them. You know, look for others. The direction is always look for someone else to help. Look for someone else to help, to get out of myself and to be saved, and to that the next person to have hopefully some level of clarity and hope in their lives. You know, the answer is never to be alone by myself in an island. You know, it's never that. The answer is always to come to you, to seek for the faith. Kenny D used to talk about the face of hopelessness, that look for that face of hopelessness in our meetings or wherever we are, whether it's with alcoholics or without alcoholics. I remember one time I was working in Yakima, and it was a difficult topic at this conference. I'm an interpreter, that's what I do, and they were talking about abuse, and it was intense. And something affected me a lot. And I got out, I was hyperventilating. I called my sponsor, and she wasn't, she didn't say, "Oh, poor Mercedes, sit down, go to your room, drink a glass of water, watch TV." No, she said, "Okay, Mercedes, breathe in, breathe out, calm down. And now go back and look for someone having a similar experience or a difficult experience and be of service to them." So, sponsors help us not only in the steps, but also in life situations. And that's what I did. And all I could find was a woman that was pregnant, trying to get with a child, trying to get some coffee. So I helped her. I went and I helped her. And that was enough to pull me out of that vortex of pain and confusion, and to say, okay, so there is something else. There is sunlight somewhere that I cannot see. And this is thanks, all is Alcoholics Anonymous. I get all this from Alcoholics Anonymous. This doesn't come from books or anything else. You all have taught me these things, how to live in this world. Because leave it up to me, as I stated, I don't do anything. I don't do anything. I hide. Anyway, so I'm so grateful that you are here. My sponsor was supposed to be here, but she was coming from Maple Valley and something must have happened, so I miss her. I want to tell her, you were not there. But I am so grateful that you're here, that I am here, and that we can stay sober one more day together. That's all we need, a day at a time. There's nothing more, nothing less. And this is kind of for me a little shot in the arm to say, yay, yay again, to rally, I don't know. I am extremely grateful for my sobriety, for the sponsorship that I've had, for my sponsees, and for all of you. And thank you. Thank you. I hope you got something out of this jumble of words. And if not, you were sitting here and you were not drinking. So there you go.
Wow. So again,